What's up, everybody? Welcome back finally to another episode of the Dumb Zone podcast. We got the hitting episode today with with my guests Ed Charlton, Matt Rowland.
How we doing?
Doing well. Today we're going to get in a little bit more of our hitting philosophy, talk about what we believe in, sort of as a facility, as people, as we see the game goes, and the differences in how the game is now versus 20 years ago, how people teach it, how people think about it. I think it's super important for guys like high school guys, college guys, especially people that are looking to make jumps, to sort of think about where they can make those jumps, what things they should be focused on and maybe not so focused on. And I don't know, I think it's super important as far as really dialing in how you're going to go into the season, because we're in that time where everybody's about to start their season. Like, what should we be working on? What are different things to think about? Ed, go ahead, kick us off. What do you got for us?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously at this point in the year, a lot of guys starting to play, pro side of things, kicked off spring training. College guys are getting going already. So at this point in the year for those guys, it's rip it and rip it, kind of what you got going on, let it fly. High school guys, we still got like a month, maybe a little bit less till high school tryouts up here in New Jersey. So, continue to do the work and grind it out and sharpen the tool a little bit. And, we'll kind of get into what we believe in and what we talk about and, mechanically approach and, a couple other things we think are pretty important as far as hitting goes. Just want to, the goal of this pod was to kind of share with everybody, our beliefs and what we do. Not necessarily just get up here and bullshit a little bit. But, give people a little bit of an insight as to what we actually think and believe in the facility.
Yeah, for sure. I think too, like you said, it's sharpening a tool. That's something, Roland, you had said in your video that we shot the other day that I think people don't necessarily think about hitting or swinging as. It's sort of like a lot of guys come in here and just like, that's what they do. It's like swing, swing, swing. Maybe today it's good. Maybe today it's bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't think about it as sharpening a tool, developing what they can take into battle almost every single time they do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, that's something that we take very seriously. I mean, every day these guys come in, it's like looking at the video, studying it, being like, hey, this is what you need to do today. This is the focus of the swing today. And, it's something that's like, if you're able to make those adjustments, and that we'll get into talking about, it's like, it can really change careers. You can see a big difference in how people are able to perform on the field.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like I exactly. So talking about making those adjustments, what are some of the things that you think is most important for hitters to focus on to stay consistent? Like, consistency is the name of the game. Everybody knows that, but I feel like a lot of people don't know what to dive into, how they should approach being consistent, because it's easy to say, but it's not always easy to act on.
Yeah, and, for us...
Pull this a little closer, right? See if you can get it.
That good?
Yeah, it's better, yeah.
All right, so... Obviously, for us, we talk about this all the time at the facility amongst ourselves. The biggest separator, I think, for guys becoming a consistent hitter, because consistency is the name of the game. It's what's going to keep you in the lineup, the longest and, let you play the longest. I'll kind of go into my spiel a little bit before I say it, but, hitting is chaos, and you really don't have control over anything, the pitch speed, the location, the umpire, the different type of pitch. Now guys are, hanging the leg, they try to quick pitch. And so there's really not much that you have control over. The one thing that you do have control over to get yourself ready is how you load, right? How you get yourself ready to hit. And when we look at the best hitters in the world, we're talking about the best big leaguers, not just big leaguers, because there's even guys there who don't do a great job of it. But they're still big leaguers. They're still obviously uber talented and very good.
Yeah.
But the best of the best get themselves ready more consistent than everybody else. They're always in the same spot. They're always in a position to do damage. They never look sped up. So the biggest thing for us when we're talking about hitting is, we harp on the load a lot and how you get ready. And can you consistently get yourself ready? And if you can't, it just adds another element of chaos to hitting. You have to be a little bit more perfect in some regards. But if you can consistently get yourself ready the same way every time and put yourself in consistent spots, to be on the heater. We got a jet flying over.
Yeah, literally a flyover. They knew we were doing it.
But no, like if you can consistently get yourself ready the same way, you have a chance every pitch.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it just makes hitting that much harder. It's just kind of how it goes. Hitting is reactionary. It's not like pitching where the ball's in your hand and you're in control. You can control your mechanics every time and think about it, and you're just steering that ship.
Yeah.
Hitting everything is reactionary. The only thing that isn't is how you get ready.
Yeah.
So the biggest focal point for us when we're working with hitters and talking to hitters is the load. That's just I can't think of anything in my mind that like is the biggest separator other than that.
Yeah, no doubt. And then it's like also off of that, it's like not only is it the only thing you can control, but when you start working on it and you get to a little bit of better posturing, now it's like you're cleaning up the path, you're cleaning up all this other stuff that's like also involved. And it's just really everything's able to start working cleaner, So there's a lot more that goes into it. But definitely the big thing that we talk about for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously there's specific mechanics that go into that. It's obviously easier to do like visually show that stuff. But when we're talking about the load, we're talking about there's a certain tempo to it too. You don't want to feel rushed. You want to try to get yourself ready slow and under control, but there's also the fine line of being too slow and creating and getting stagnant, becoming somewhat of a statue. You still want to have flow to it. And be in rhythm and feel like a hitter. You don't want to go up there and feel like a statue, but you also you don't want to be rushed and kind of just jumping at the ball. And there's some really good old school thoughts to what we think too. It's like you hear everybody forever stay back, right? Like that's like probably the simplest and one of the oldest things I've heard as a hitter my entire life.
For sure, yeah.
Hey, stay back, stay back, stay back. But like, well, what does that mean? Like you can stay back without really loading and you feel stuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Now like, and you can feel kind of stagnant. And now your back's kind of up against the wall and it's not really aggressive. Obviously as hitters, like we're on offense, we got the bat in our hand. We want to be the aggressors. But it's also, do that under control without just jumping at the pitcher. Yeah. Because like I said, you got to be able to read pitches. You got to be able to make decisions. And, if you can consistently load, under control while staying back around the backside while still moving forward, which is kind of like a weird concept to think about. Yeah. I'm sure like when we use this pod and we show clips of hitters, they'll got to get a better visual.
For sure.
But yeah, like being able to kind of stay around the back leg a little bit and ride that forward versus kind of just pushing off of it or falling forward and getting over top of the front side. That's for us like the biggest separator. When you look at the best hitters in the world, they all do it. Yeah. And it might look a little bit different here and there. They might start different. Some guys start a little tall and narrow and get into it. Some guys start a little bit wider, go sort of a no stride type. And there's, it's not one or the other necessarily. It's whatever works for the hitters. I think a lot of people try to cookie cutter it. Yeah. I know myself included, like I like to teach a lot of no stride stuff. Yeah. But it's not, I just like to teach it that way because I think it's easy to teach. It's easy to teach the load when you're doing some no stride stuff because it's simple. Yeah. Right. It's something that's repeatable. And for me, like, I don't care if guys toe tap, leg kick, no stride, you like a little step into it. It doesn't matter. You cut the body in half. Right, the backside should look the same no matter what the front side is doing. Is in that regard. It's just kind of like a comfortability, timing. Whatever you want to do. For sure, it doesn't matter. The backside should look the same no matter what's going on with the front leg. Yeah. So if we can kind of hone in on what the backside is doing in the load, then everything else should be fine. Add your flavor to it, whatever you want to do. And like another reason I like the no stride stuff is, it gives you something to fall back on, right? Like sometimes like shit's going to hit the fan at some point during the season as a hitter. If you're a leg kick guy or a toe tap guy, or, you have like, you start a little bit narrow and you like to kind of stride into it more. At some point, shit starts to feel out of whack. So what do you have to fall back on that can kind of reset you and get you back to neutral and feeling good?
Yeah.
Instead of just, all right, I'm just going to continue to do the same thing and really, really grind it out, and hopefully it just starts to feel better. You know, what can you go back to pretty quickly when you start to get into a slump? And to me, like doing some of that no stride type stuff in a game, you know, can get you at least, all right, I can feel like I'm ready to hit.
Yeah.
And then from there, once you start feeling good, then you can kind of do whatever you want. When you're feeling good, it doesn't really matter. Like,
Yeah,
you're just in
sure.
fucking zone.
Yeah, we've seen Harper rely on that a bunch. Like
Yep.
the last couple seasons, he's gone to that a bunch of times, and it's going to be easy for people to say like, yeah, Harper's super gifted, like whatever, like super big, strong guy. He can afford to do it.
Bichette does it.
But yeah, no,
A lot of guys
Yeah,
do,
a
man.
lot of guys.
a ton of guys do it. But I think the point to make is like, no matter what the level or talent level or strength is, like it's a good tool for hitters of all levels to use if they really need to be like more, I guess, secular in their approach and not have to worry about as much, and make sure the pieces are all there before they worry about necessarily moving around a ton, the advanced rhythm and timing that might come with like a big toe tap or a big leg kick that people do, you know what I mean?
It also
Timber Bat Company is selling the first ever patented weighted flat bat. Flat bats are great training tools, and they mimic the same weight as your game bat. They offer them in youth and adult options with custom colors for no additional charge.
depends on the hitter too. Like, you know, we get a guy that comes in and, you know, they're a light kick guy and they're all over the place, and it's causing them to be inconsistent. Then, like, you know, we a lot of times we'll dial it back to some no stride work just to really work on it so they can feel what the load's supposed to feel like, feel what the backside's supposed to feel like, and then from there you try to tie it. If they're like really like, hey man, I love hitting with leg kick, it's when I feel the most comfortable, it's when I feel the most aggressive.
Yeah.
Well, then you start to add that back in, but make sure the load still looks good and they can control it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Like we got plenty of guys that we do that.
Yeah, most of the leg kick guys that, like, you know, that we've worked with and I've worked with, a lot of them will start with a no stride, and then it's like, all right, you get that good, and now it's like, all right, let's go to like a hover or something like that, which to me is almost like a no stride version for a leg kick guy. You know, like preset that leg lifted spot, and now it's like coil that forward into a swing. So there's some guys who've had a lot of success with, you know, kind of building it up that way.
Yeah. But yeah, like sort of going back into that, I feel like what you were saying, where there's like a guy with a leg kick or something like that that's all over the place, you will get guys like that are uber talented, and they'll do that, and you'll be like, I don't know how this guy succeeds. He's all over the place. We saw like one of our, not that he was a big leg kick guy, even though I think he sort of was from time to time, but Josh Hood was like, I'm all over the like he didn't say this, but he's all over the place, and he still performs really well.
No, but he knew.
Yeah. But like he still performs really well and does all that stuff, and you dial him back, you start to move the right pieces in the right order and get him right, and then that person's like, oh shit, like I didn't even know this was part of it. Like I didn't even know that I could achieve this also.
Yeah.
And then it makes it, they go back to that leg kick or whatever with way more tools, and it's still the same kind of timing, everything they like to do, with way better pieces that allow them to be more efficient and consistent.
Right, you still allow them to feel like themselves, right?
Yeah.
Like if Hoodie's a guy, he's moved forever. He likes to move around. He's got a lot of rhythm and flow to his swing and like how he gets ready. So you don't want to take that away from a guy and make him a statue,
For sure.
right? Because then I think that's when shit starts to go a little haywire.
Especially with how aggressive he is too.
Yeah. And Hoodie's a guy that's like, he is aggressive, right? And he swings hard, and he's got a good hit tool. Like,
Exactly.
you know, just continuing, like, just thinking about him as the example right now, like the fact that guy hit as well as he did, kind of moving as much as he did and kind of being all over the place, is a testament to how good of a hitter he is, right? So, you know, him this offseason was awesome, you know, to work with him and really try to hone in on just getting and being consistent with how he gets ready. You know, he's a guy that we're obviously really excited about to see how he does. And, you know, we still talk every other day, just say, hey, how's it feeling? You know, sending me video, and we're looking at it and just making sure just shit's doing, you know, he's in the right spots. And, you know, there was an adjustment we saw the other day. We were looking at it, and, you know, it's like, hey, now take that to the next day, next time you hit. And, you know, it's never just, hey, pat you on the ass, see you, good luck. It's this is a constant thing. And, you know, we want to, you know, if we spend all this time in the off season with these guys, it's not just, all right, good luck, see you next offseason, maybe.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that they're staying on the right path. And, you know, there are ways to just stay on top of it and make sure you're doing the right stuff. And also, like, you know, we're in here in a cage all off season. It's a lot different when you get out on the field and you're facing an arm.
Mhm.
So like there's adjustments that need to be made then too. And,
Yeah.
you know, I love being a part of that and helping these guys like make that adjustment on the fly too. It's like, hey, like you look at the video now that when they're facing an arm in a game, it's like, all right, well, it might look a little bit different. They might be doing something that like looks a little off. So you can kind of give them some feedback like, hey, like you might have to feel like you need to move a little bit more forward now,
Yeah.
you know, like, or you might have to exaggerate trying to stay back a little bit more now,
Yeah.
you know. So it's a case by case thing. And, you know, not everybody's the same. Like hitting is very finicky. You know, when you're making adjustments and you're talking about, you know, the swing, like, you know, if you're just talking about even setting a guy up in their stance, you know, like guys move their hands an inch and they feel like they're over their head.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's ridiculous. That's why we have to video everything. So, you know, you can kind of try to connect the feel and the reel for the hitter and show them like, you're like, yo, hey, try this, move your hands here. And they think they're doing it and you show them the video and they're like, fuck, that looks the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like you got to exaggerate to try to change that feel a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's why, you know, we're here and that's why we video it. And, you know, you just try to connect the dots.
For sure. I think too, like talking about Hoodie and having that sort of approach to how you guys not fix, but help guys out, maybe get them in better positions. Hoodie is super aggressive and takes his shots. And I think that sort of goes into the conversation of sort of how you guys teach approach too, and how we talk about approach. From a personal standpoint, it was something that didn't really start clicking for me to my last 2 or 3 years of school, where it was like, know like what count you're in, know the situation, and take your shots accordingly, not just throw the same swing at there every time, not just try to put the ball in play.
And I think that's a little bit different too, right? Like there's approach and there's strategy.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's a chess game. So like that's the strategy of it. I think like when you're talking approach, right? Like, so as a right-handed hitter, a lot of guys, and I think it's a great approach, like thinking right center gap, right? Or low line drive right center, second baseman's head. Some guys even need to think ground ball to second just to get them right,
for sure,
and stay on pitches. You know, like to me, that's approach. That's not pitch to pitch strategy. Thinking what's coming. But like, you know, when we talk about approach, or at least how we think about it, you know, you're forever, all right, yeah, think right center as a right-handed hitter. Well, if your swing can't execute that approach, then it doesn't fucking matter, right? Like if your swing is kind of like chopped, sliced down and across out of the zone, then having that right center approach might not do you any good, because you actually can't do that. Your swing can't execute that approach.
For sure.
So you might have to have a little bit different approach, or you just have to start revamping your swing. To be able to execute that approach. So, you know, it's not one or the other. It's both. You want to have an approach at the plate, and like, you know, just something to generally like, all right, hey, this is what I'm going to think here, just to keep me on the ball. You know, right-handed hitters and left-handed hitters even are way different. You know, and this is something that I never even thought about until, you know, I was in my first year of pro ball and I got to actually sit down and talk with Eric Davis, which was awesome. Which was really cool for me to just be able to sit and pick his brain. But like the one thing that he kind of opened my mind up to was, you know, righties versus lefties. And like the way he explained it to me, and it makes perfect sense. Like right-handed hitters can't necessarily have the same like swing or approach as a left-handed hitter. And this now, like when we're teaching it, we teach it the same, right? Because we want lefties to have the same approach, like left center, to be able to stay on pitches and whatnot. But for at the time, it was like, all right, well, righties, your whole life, you're facing a lot of right-handed pitching. So a lot of the stuff that's not a heater fades away from you. Right? Sliders, breaking balls are always fading away from your barrel. So righties have to end up taking a lot of ugly swings sometimes to just stay alive and pitch off,
falling out over the plate
the other way. Right? And then you see lefties, you know, you watch lefties, every swing looks so pretty and beautiful. But then the lefty-lefty matchup is so predominant because those guys are used to facing righties and everything's kind of fading. We're not fading, it's coming into their barrel. So they can kind of just sit and spin on a ball and pull it.
Yeah.
Where like, but then they face a lefty and they see a breaking ball, they're taking these ugly ass out swings and they're not used to it.
Yeah.
So like, even knowing that and just thinking about that, like that was something that kind of opened my eyes. Like, wow, like I never realized that. So like, but now using that and teaching lefties the kind of same thing. Like we're trying to build a complete hitter here, not just some guy that can sit and spin on a ball and maybe pull it over the fence. We want everybody to be able to use the whole field in the middle of the field and drive the ball through the middle of the field. And yeah, obviously pulling the ball is great.
Yeah.
Right. Like when we're talking like approach and swing and mechanics in the facility and like the tee work and flips and the early work, most of it is away.
Left center from right center, keeping it out there. Yeah.
Right. Like so right-handed hitter, for example, if we're going to work on the tee, a lot of it's going to be away off the plate or deep off the deep and away.
Yeah.
And we're trying to take everything that way, and you're trying to create good direction that way, and to be able to cover that stuff and to be able to cover that area of the plate, which is also going to help you cover breaking balls and stay on pitches. But in the game, it's not like you need to hit every ball to right center,
exactly,
right field. The best hitters in the game pull the ball better than everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Damage is done on the pull side.
Yeah.
Like everybody raves about how well Mike Trout drives the ball the other way, and he talks about like, I try to hit every ball to right center, I try to stay on the line to right center. And like, that's the approach, right? That's when you're talking approach, and when you're doing your early work, like you need to do that stuff to stay on it. But when you look at his spray charts in the game, it's like, well, that dude pulls the ball better than everybody. He takes that pitch that's away off the plate and pulls it.
Yeah.
Right. But it's because of all the early work put in to create that direction and stay on that he's able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like that's what we're looking to do too.
Yeah.
You know, when we're talking about mechanics and stuff like that, we want guys to be able to pull the ball and do damage. But if we're just working on pulling the ball, now you're creating guys that yank, and you're going to be susceptible to spin and off speed. And so like it hitting is kind of weird in that way. Like you're working on things. So you're working on something that's basically completely opposite to give you more success doing the opposite.
Yeah, dude. I mean, with me and approach-wise, a little bit of a kind of a simpler view of how I view it for some of our high school guys, especially in the summer, like with our travel teams and showcase teams and all that. Like I want guys to be aggressive. It's like we're going out to these tournaments. They're probably some games maybe getting like 2-3 at bats depending on how the scores go. It's like I want guys to go in there and like get some swings off.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean like, hey, you're going in there and like swinging at everything, but it's like if you get a heater first pitch down the middle over the plate, swing it.
Yeah.
Like you're here to showcase yourself, let it fly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And to me also, it's like, say you do swing like through like a first pitch breaking ball, that isn't in the dirt. It's like, all right, well now at least you have some kind of like timing rhythm of like when you want to get it going off this pitcher. If you go up there and it's like, all right, 0-1, took a breaking ball over the plate. Okay, cool. Now it's like fouled off a fastball. Now you're sitting 0-2. It's like you need to be ready to go. And that really starts like in the on deck circle, just being ready, get it ready. Like being ready to do some damage in the game.
Yeah. You're if you're going up to the plate and your mindset is, all right, I got to see a pitch to get my timing. Well, that shit should happen in the on deck circle. And even before that, right? You don't figure out your timing by taking a pitch in the box. You figure out your timing by swinging and being like, all right, I was a little earlier, I was a little late, and let me figure out how to adjust from there. But like you're saying, man, hitting, you're on offense.
Yeah.
Why concede strike one? And all pitchers want to do is get ahead.
Yep.
Right. So, and you're not going to always get there nasty as shit, even if they're flipping in a breaking ball. You're like, sometimes that first pitch breaking ball is an absolute meatball, and they're just kind of throwing it because they're thinking, well, he's sitting dead red heater and he's not going to swing. But a lot of the time that pitch is a great pitch to hit. And you can hammer it bullside.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we don't want to just go up there and just concede strike one, right? You go down 0-1, the chances of getting hits now are the pitcher can throw whatever he wants and you're fighting for your life a little bit. We want to go in there ready to go and ready to do damage from pitch one. And if we can create hitters with that mentality, like they're going to be set up for way more success to drive balls instead of just kind of being always on the on the back, just fighting for your life. Like, all right, shit, every count seems like it's 1-2, 0-2.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I don't know what's coming. You're just trying to fight, instead of kind of taking the fight to the pitcher, and in that regard, like mentally as the hitter, you say you go up there first pitch, even if it's a first pitch heater and you foul it off.
Yeah.
Right. Like, well, and you look ready and it's a hack and the pitcher's now like, shit, I can't miss.
Yeah.
Now they're going to nibble more. And then you start to work the count back in your favor. But if you're just up there taking, you're kind of letting them do whatever they want and they're dictating how you're going to approach the at bat.
Yeah.
But if you can go up there and be the aggressor, it changes how they have to approach you.
Yeah.
To me, that's almost how like every young hitter should start out, and it's like from there, if you're getting good at that now, it's like we can move on to like more advanced approaches, especially as you move on through the ranks of baseball. It's like now it's like, all right, you're getting to like college pro ball. It's like pitchers are better. You're going to need a more advanced approach to actually like, be effective. But
that's why at those levels they give you more information too.
100%. Yeah.
And like that's sort of where I think marrying the in-game approach versus what they work on in here or what they work on maybe even before the game gets kind of lost on people. And it's conversations you and I have had plenty of times when I was playing. And it's like, we're so like diligent in here about working on stuff the other way and focusing on like, you're yanking everything, do this to stay through the other way. And people get so like tapped into that and thinking about that. When it's pitch one, it's like time to party. Like if you're really good at pulling the ball, but you kind of suck at hitting the ball the other way, and all week you're working on hitting the ball the other way, and you get in the game and you get an inside fastball, and you're like, I really want to try to hit it the other way because that's all I've been working on. It's like that ain't it. It's
at that point you're just going up there, fly kind of
exactly
and hacking. You can't be trying to like finick. And be just feeling out a swing in a game. You're gonna go compete and let it fly a little bit. Yeah,
but a lot of times it comes from like a good place. It's the kid that really does want to get better and work on stuff and figure stuff out and is paying attention and dialed in. But it's just finding that happy medium between, all right, game time. Like, let's go. Let's
definitely.
Yeah, let's get aggressive.
I've gotten texts before. It's normally by like some younger guys who have come in and started training with us. It might be their first off season with us. And it's like they're going into a game. It's like, dude, I was trying to feel this, and that. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it was working. Like, and it's like, yo, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, the work you did all winter is done. Yeah. Right? Like, the swing is what it is right now. That's why we did it all winter to get it there.
Exactly.
Right? Go out there, compete, be an athlete, play the game. We'll worry about the swings here and there a little bit, little tweaks here and there, but you're not going to overhaul your swing right now in season. You got to go play the game, right?
And an important message for high school guys too. We were talking about consistency earlier and like how that's so important and what everybody wants to achieve. And the consistency and the confidence, a lot of high school guys, especially from my experience, comes from, all right, if I have 4 hits this week, I'm going to be confident. And all the confidence needs to come from the preparation and working on all season. And I hit for X amount of hours this off season, 1 million hours this off season because I went into BPC every day and hit. The confidence and everything should be through that and all the swings you take and not result driven.
Yeah, and
we are pleased to announce our inaugural sponsor is Clean Fuego. As you guys know, Clean Fuego is the leading training tool to help guys improve their throws. It helps guys work on their grip, polish pitches, visualize how they're releasing, and work out subtle changes in real time, and so much more. They just released the new Fuego Fly 01. They are made of a material that allows you to warm up against a wall so you don't need a throwing partner or a net. You can also throw them at the ground or lay on your back and toss them upwards towards the ceiling. They have texture and stitches so you can easily blend a Fly-O with a baseball. There are also benefits in how the Fly-Os impact the wall. With the limited distance from the wall when warming up, the thrower could start to recognize the ball bounces and ricochets off the wall for more feedback in addition to the visual. We use the Fuegos and the Fly-Os daily at BPC, and you can scoop your own Fuegos on their website, cleanfuego.com, or find them on Amazon or any social media shop.
It's hard for a young hitter and, a hitter in general because, all anybody talks about is numbers and stats and results.
Exactly.
Right. So, but there's good results and there's bad good results. right? Like if you go into a weekend and you collect, you have a 3-game series and you get 5 hits and 4 of them are like numbers. Are you happy
Yeah.
because your batting average is high, or
Yeah.
are you, like that's, to me, those aren't good results.
Yeah.
You could also, line out 4 times and crush 4 balls
Yep.
and have nothing to show for it.
Yep.
But to me, like, but it's also hard because, you have nothing to show for it.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
like, it's a mental battle. And like, I think my biggest like piece of advice for that type of stuff would be like, dude, don't look at your numbers. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just go compete and play the game and try to square the ball up, and whatever happens. And because you can drive yourself crazy. I've done it.
Yeah.
I've done it.
Yeah. It's a
multiple
story
times
as
in my
old as time.
career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you can, and you think about like your life playing summer ball, right? Like, not once in my life in high school, like, did I ever know
Your batting
what
average.
my stats were
Yeah,
in the summer ball.
Yeah.
Right? And, like,
Never.
all I remember ever doing was raking in the summer and
Mhm.
fall, because just going and playing, and
Yeah.
like, it's just every game it's a new game, and not knowing those stats, just like, you don't let yourself drive, you can't drive yourself crazy.
Yeah.
But like when you get into high school and like you're thinking about postseason accolades, it's like, oh, I gotta hit this, and this,
Mhm.
and then you start to see everybody else, and it's also tough because social media, it's all thrown in your face.
I was gonna say
It's
you have
always out
every
there.
you have every avenue now. Like Game Changer wasn't really a thing. It was
Yeah.
just starting when I was in travel ball, and all the perfect game social media stuff was sort of there, but it hadn't become like the forefront of youth baseball
Mhm.
the way it is now. And now it's every single number you could possibly put out there is blown up and given to everybody that you deem is important. And I think that's also where a lot of the not so much college, but high school guys get messed up too, where it's like they want to flex it, even if they do get those four numbers, they want to flex a good batting average to the college coach they want to see or whatever. And they don't always, realize that the college coach that comes to see them, that watches them line out 3 times, that doesn't really give a shit about their batting average, is going to be way more impressed by that performance than reading 344 and then going to see the player that puts up those number type at bats,
Yeah. And like, obviously there's guys we know of and think about with this example exactly, not going to name names, but, like super high batting average, collecting hits. But when the goal is to play pro ball, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the numbers almost don't matter, because the batted ball outcome has to,
They're looking at your projections.
right. Like,
That's what they're looking at.
You have to have
Yeah.
certain like batted ball outcomes, like how hard is it coming off the bat? What's your average exit velo? What's your average launch angle?
Yeah.
Right. Like if you're a guy that's just collecting a bunch of hits and has a super high batting average, but your average exit velo is extremely low,
Yeah.
and so is your average launch angle, it's like, well, you're almost just getting lucky,
Yeah.
right? Like you can't, that doesn't project across a higher level of baseball. You're just, you're really, the ball is just finding holes, and that eventually runs out
I was going to
because
say.
fielders get better, fields get better, shifts happen, scouting reports come out, so all that stuff starts to go away. So it really just comes down to, can you square the ball up and hit it hard on a line? And the guys that
Consistently,
do that, right,
yeah, make good decisions.
The guys that do that the most end up playing the longest.
Yeah.
Like there's just a few things that need to happen. As a hitter, you got to be on the heater. If you're a hitter and you can't hit a fastball consistently, then you're just not going to play the game.
Yeah.
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 Plain and simple.
Mhm.
You're not going to get to high level college baseball just having a slow bat, relying on running into breaking balls.
For sure.
You have to be on the heater, and you have to dominate the heater. When we're talking about like training and what we do in here, like there's a reason we hit the machines every day at a pretty, quick pace. It's a short distance and it gets on you. And it's why we harp on the load so much, because guys come in, I can't hit off machines, I can't get my timing. Well, then how you get ready sucks.
Yeah.
You need to be able to do that stuff. If you can consistently get yourself ready on the machine and be all over the heater and not just get blown up every time, you're going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of really good things if you can do that stuff. So that's why we do this stuff every day. It's not just coming in, hitting the tee and flips and, saying, all right, yeah, you look great today. It's like, no, let's challenge it and make sure you can do this shit.
Yeah.
If you're not getting challenged in your training, you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, it's like, hey, I'm just, doing doing flips, like maybe even doing an awesome job with like looking at video and be like, all right, this looks pretty good. Well, it's like a lot of times when it's like we're working with guys, it's like, all right, yeah, this looks really good on flips. You go to the machine, it's like, all right, it's breaking down. It's like it's not the same now just because there's more of a challenge of like the velo coming at you. So now it's a whole different aspect of how to actually get ready for it and timing.
And it's also like challenge within reason.
Yeah,
right. Like, we're not just gonna crank the machine up to 110.
No.
Make and like force everything to fall apart because it's
swinging it till you hit it. Yeah.
We're now changing everything to adjust to something that's not real.
Yeah.
And like, that's kind of like what we've talked about with some of the foam ball stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like when we're like, I think a lot of the foam ball stuff that's like seems like the new craze right now with hitting training, there's merit to some of it. But a big reason why I haven't been a huge proponent of it is, a big piece of hitting is feeling the barrel.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you hit those foam balls, got people like them because, you can crank the machine up. It creates a ton of spin. And it's very challenging to hit. It creates that like really verty heater. It's a little bit unrealistic, but it's very challenging. Yeah. And then then you can really make it spin. A breaking ball that's kind of nasty, and guys can swing without fear. I guess is what like the mindset is.
Yeah.
You can swing without fear of breaking your bat, hitting it off the end. Getting jammed and really just feeling it in your hands. But like for me, like that's the part of hitting that I love. Like being able to feel like when it sucks, it should hurt. Yeah. You should be like, God damn, man, I got to figure it out. Because not just taking these free swinging hacks where you hit a foam ball and it says it's hit 108 miles an hour, but like you still hit it off the end of the bat with those things and it's still a rocket. Or you can still get it off the hands a little bit. It's still a rocket. For me, like I love the aspect of hitting that makes you focus up a little bit more to feel it on the sweet spot. And I think that's a huge part of hitting, because without that extra focus, like you start to miss hit balls.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's a big part of hitting, is to be able to really lock in and find the sweet spot every time. And you look at, there was like Joey Votto is one of my favorite hitters ever. And there was a thing that came out when he was playing like the bat he uses for batting practice, and it went viral, but it was like he used a black bat for BP, and there was a spot on the bat, like that big of where he hits the ball every time. And to be able to have that type of focus to create that accuracy, I think is huge.
Yeah. I think too, like dialing in to how you approach your practice and things like that, and not just go in there as far as, let me just try to see if I can square a bunch of balls up. Obviously that's the goal, but like, how focused and dialed in are you to your practice? How focused and dialed in are you to your weaknesses and different things like that? Because there are dudes that will like, and I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to hit some balls off the end. You're going to get jammed. You're going to get fisted. Oh no, a bunch of stuff's going to happen. But if you're not like, you square a few balls up and you feel good about the day, like that's totally different than, did I really focus on my weaknesses today and did I get better? Sort of what Roland was talking about. If you're not getting challenged enough, like, and I think it almost like, if you don't have maybe even a few days a month where you're like, damn, I sucked today. You know what I mean? Like this was, I was not good today.
That's where the learning experiences come.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you learn.
Yeah. If you go through, if you just like kind of frolic through every day and you're like, I got my hitting done today, I squared the ball up a ton, like that, what are you getting out of that? Like
I think there's guys out there where it's like they go throughout a whole off season and basically just have a bunch of feel good days.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, man, I'm hitting the ball really good. This is awesome. Like, X velo's going up and all that. And it's like, all right, cool, man. Like, let's see how it looks when he gets to a game, or let's see how 100%. It looks when there's like a little bit more of a challenge outside of like, maybe just your dad or some coach like flipping you the ball from like 20 feet away at 18 miles per hour.
Yeah. And I think too, like we were talking about direction earlier, and a lot of that does stem from that, as far as the dudes that if you're just taking flips and your direction sucks and you can spin and just crush balls to the pull side, how important is focusing on different types of aspects to the swing, like the load, like direction. Direction was always super important for me because it was something that really kept me through all fields, and I got to realize that I could still utilize the swing, like my body and everything the way it needs to be, and hit the ball effectively, pull side and opposite field, just from having a good direction.
Yeah, I mean, it all kind of ties in,
Yeah.
right? Like when we're talking about having a good load, well, after that, the load should set up the direction for where we're trying to take the bat and how the swing is started. And it's not about like trying to force direction, the other way, then through the opposite field or through the middle of the field. Like that stuff, the direction is a result of a clean load and a clean launch. Yeah. And then from there, it's done, right? So that's why we harp so much on the load. Yeah. Because it sets up the direction to be able to do what we want to do and stay through the opposite field or, the center of the field and be able to cover the outside of the plate and be able to cover everything out there. That's all set up through the load. So it all ties in. Yeah. But it starts with the load. Right. Yeah. If you're a guy that doesn't really have a good load where you don't really like coil around the backside to create that direction through that opposite gap, well, now like the first move when you swing, if you're just starting square, the first move to swing is going to be like kind of yanked away. Yeah. Right. So your body's going to pull for speed from somewhere. Yeah. Yeah. And like people look, this is like a weird thing, but like people argue if hitting's rotational, it's not rotational, whatever. Yeah. There's a rotational aspect to hitting. That's undeniable. But the speed your body goes to pull speed from somewhere. So if you don't create something that loads around and inward to create that direction, you can create the speed in the right way. Yeah. You're going to end up kind of yanking away. Yeah. So like that's why we harp on the load so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of build off what he said, and you kind of asked about direction of it. It's like, one of the first things I find myself kind of working with guys to clean up the load and clean up some other stuff is just posturing. I feel like almost every guy who comes in, it's like a lot of them are too upright. They're really into their quads, like knees are like over their toes, right? Like if you're in that position, it's like you're set up. Before you even swing, I know it's going to exit the zone if you're righty, getting out of the zone left, So that's something where it's like one of the first things we're always doing is like different drills, different feels to be like, hey, how do we get you to feel like you're more so hamstring, glute holding you back instead of like your quad? If you're in there, it's like you're just going to jump forward, go left. Like if you're like hamstring, glute actually feeling like that's activated, holding you back when you have that loading around move, now it's like that's really holding the ground, keeping that. Building up a little bit more of a stretch. Yeah. Now it's like the direction's going to fix itself. For sure.
Yep. Something that we've always talked about, and you sort of mentioned to me that I think did subconsciously, but I didn't really realize. And I was like, damn, like if you really focus on this, and Bo Bichette was a big person to me, but if you're not sure how to do things, what to do, and you want to, or you notice like my body type's a little different. I like guys who, you know what I mean? I'm a short, stocky guy, but I really like watching Cody Bellinger. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different aspects and benefits that you can get from pulling from MLB guys, watching the best in the world do what they do, getting like the insight from them, because you can pull up any interview they have and hear them talk about what they do and everything. I'm curious to hear what you guys think are some MLB bats that people should be on the lookout for. Maybe do some great stuff, are primed for a breakout year, stuff you really like. I know I have some in my mind, but
yeah, I mean, like if we're talking about guys that like we think are going to be awesome, like this year, I mean, I got two in my mind. Obviously, not obviously, but this one's kind of easy.
I was going to say, give some obvious ones and throw a dark horse in there.
Yeah, like this is an easy one. One like this is a guy we talk about all the time now because the swing is insane. But he just won Rookie of the Year, Jackson Merrill. Yeah, right. I think one of the best swings in baseball. Very young. Think he's going to be really good for a long time. Yeah, as long as that stays where it's at, and I think he's going to be pretty special talent, like one of the best in the game for a long time. And then a guy that I'm buying a ton of stock in this year is Alex Bregman.
Okay,
going over to Boston.
All right.
Just kind of following his offseason a little bit, seeing what the swings are looking like. Yeah. Kind of looks like he cut some of the farm board shit out of there, and the scissor, shit,
weird shit.
But no, I mean, I'm big into Bregman this year. I think him being in Boston is going to be huge. I think he plays phenomenal in Fenway Park.
He sort of went to the only team that is keeps his strength. He had the Crawford boxes in Houston, and now he's got the short
and I
push.
think of him being in Boston. I think of like how Pedroia was in Boston. Like, you got to pull the ball awesome, get it in the air, pull side. I think Bregman's going to go off in Boston.
Yeah, dude, so mine was going to be Jackson Merrill.
Okay.
So I mean, I feel like we're both kind of same with that. Love that guy's swing.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, man, he's really good. I'm trying to think of a couple other guys. I mean, like Ed said, I think Bregman's going to have a really good year. Go with Phillies guys. I feel like Harper's going to have a wild year this year.
Yeah.
I saw a couple swings from him. Looks really clean.
He's a dude that dials it in every year and thinks about, like, not only maintaining his greatness that he's always had, but he always seems to be in the lab really focused on things and priming himself for another great year. Because it's another thing you got to think about every single year is how are people going to attack you differently this year?
His always kind of goes a little like back and forth. I feel like he's just such a loose, athletic guy where it's like there's a lot to control, where it's like you'll watch it on a week-to-week basis. It's like, he goes through a bunch of different loads, bunch of different feels and all that. And it's like, when it's on though, dude, it's one of the best.
Yeah. And then, obviously there's guys we had in here this offseason that we're excited to see how they do.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think, obviously one of our we're the biggest fans of Joey Loperfido around here, but, pretty excited for him. He had a great offseason, made a lot of really good adjustments. Really excited to see how he does this year. Matt Mervis went deep yesterday in the spring training game. So he's getting a fresh start in Miami. I think that's going to be great for him. Jimmy Herron getting a fresh start in Milwaukee, getting out of Colorado. I think, and he's been doing good. He's in big league camps, had a couple of knocks in the big league games. Jimmy's doing well. One guy I'm super excited about, recently is Ryan Lasko with the A's. He's already got 2 pumps in spring training. Send me a couple videos. It looks insane. Ryan's got another insane hit tool, great hitter. Got to really work for the first time this offseason with him. I think Ryan's got the mindset and the makeup and everything that goes along with it to be a big leaguer, along with elite defensive center field play. I think he's going to be pretty special. We got to get Jay Allen up here this offseason from Florida. That was fun. Jay's doing well. So, Josh Hood, Andrew Miller, we touched on Hoodie already, and, hopefully Mills can put it together and stick around for a while and figure it out and do well. But, another big donkey that was hitting the shit out of the ball all off season. So, hopefully I wish all these guys a ton of success. And, I think it's going to be pretty cool to follow all year. Really just pulling for all those guys. And, we tune in every day in here. You know how it goes with every spring training game we have on TV. Just, all right, shit, when are these guys up? What are they doing? And the same thing on the pitching side. There's a ton of guys we try to follow. But those are the guys, obviously, that hit home close to us.
For sure. So at Baseball Performance Center, if you want to hit up Mr. Oland _
Mr.
BPC,
Oland, that's me.
Matt Roland _ BPC. These guys can help you out. These guys, great. They know what they're talking about. And it's a really fun opportunity to do remote, come here in person, do everything, get yourselves better. We look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Thank you.